There's something few people openly discuss, but many men over 60 are silently facing every night. A quiet sense of loss that slowly turns into shame. They don't complain or speak out, but deep inside, a fear is growing, a fear they've lost a part of their manhood because of age. I still remember meeting Raymond, 67, at a senior wellness seminar in California. He was cheerful and outgoing, but when we touched on this delicate subject, his eyes dimmed. I just figured, after 60, that part of life was over. He chuckled, but something caught in his voice. As it turned out, for years he hadn't dared to open up to his wife, afraid of letting her down. He had no serious medical conditions, but his own mindset of withdrawal, of thinking, at this age you're supposed to be weak, made him give up before he even dared to try. So many men are just like Raymond, not lacking in affection, not lacking in care, but lacking deeply in confidence. It's not because their bodies are no longer capable, but because inside them are heavy, invisible psychological blocks. Those three blocks, the false belief that age equals impotence, the overwhelming anxiety about performance, and the silence born from a fear of wounding one's pride, are quietly killing intimacy, not just physically, but emotionally. But here's the good news. Those blocks can absolutely be removed. And when they are lifted, what remains is not just a recovery in the bedroom, but a revival of the feeling of being connected, loved, and truly yourself. In today's video, we're going to walk through the three biggest psychological barriers paralyzing the confidence of men over 60. If you're still out there holding on to things that cannot be put into words, then perhaps this is the time to begin a new journey. A journey not just to heal the body, but to live more fully, both in and out of the bedroom. Now let's begin. Barrier 1, the self-fulfilling belief. I'm supposed to be weak at this age, so you don't even try. You know, there's a cruel irony here. Many men over 60 have never really tried again, but in their minds, they've already accepted that, at this age, I'm supposed to be weak. That very belief, it sounds harmless, but it's incredibly powerful, has locked away their initiative, causing them to retreat before the game has even begun. I remember Leonard, 70, from suburban Minnesota, who once shared in a private men's support group. He said, I don't try anything anymore because I figure it'll just end in failure. But the remarkable thing was he was perfectly healthy, ate well, and still gardened and played golf weekly. The problem wasn't physical, but mental. He believed that after a certain age, desire disappears and intimacy becomes a thing of the past. And he's not alone. Many other men carry a version of truth that's been distorted by culture, stereotypes, and a long-held silence. They look around, see their friends are also hesitant and quiet, and assume it's the natural order. But what's the truth? Science has shown that male sexual function doesn't automatically vanish with age. It's influenced by psychology, activity levels, diet, and especially our internal beliefs. When you believe you're past your prime, your body behaves accordingly. It responds to that negative signal by gradually reducing its ability, not because it's gone, but because it isn't being awakened. It's a vicious, invisible cycle. The feeling of failure comes not from the result, but from never truly daring to treat them. The issue isn't about expensive medications or flashy advertisements. It starts with asking yourself, is it true I can't, or have I just stopped believing in myself? Only when you allow yourself to try, with a mindset free of pressure and fear, can you begin to reopen the door that you yourself have long kept shut. And sometimes just one earnest attempt is all it takes to surprise yourself with your own true capabilities. Because the first thing that needs restoring isn't your physical strength, it's your belief. Barrier 2, performance anxiety is so intense that it kills your focus. There's a paradox playing out for so many men over 60. The more they worry about performing well, the more they lose focus. And that very thing causes them to fail before they've even begun. That feeling is like a competition where as you step onto the stage, you hear whispers, can I do this? What if I can't? What if she's disappointed? Those voices aren't external, they broadcast from deep within you, and they're powerful enough to defeat both body and spirit in seconds. I once spoke with Thomas, 66, a retired teacher in Colorado. He confessed that every time he was intimate with his wife, his head felt like a radio station. Will this time be different? Can I maintain it? Is she noticing something's wrong? And just like that, instead of focusing on the feeling, on the connection, his mind was drowned in the pressure of expectation. The result was that the more he tried to control things, the more they slipped away. Science calls this phenomenon spectatoring, when a person becomes so focused on their performance that they lose their ability to feel. Stress produces cortisol, a hormone that can inhibit natural physiological responses. The more you worry, the less your body cooperates. And the more you're disappointed, the more your self-belief plummets. That spiral just repeats itself, silently, relentlessly. The truth is this: in intimacy, connection doesn't come from a perfect performance, but from complete presence. When you allow yourself to just be there instead of performing well, everything starts to change. Intimacy doesn't require you to be a Superman. It requires you to be yourself, with an open heart and a mind unchained by anxiety. So try to slow your breathing. Forget about doing it right. Start with sensation, with affection, with a gentle touch that has no agenda. When you let go of expectations, you'll be surprised to find your body responding gently, naturally. And that, it doesn't come from pills or techniques. It comes from you stopping the worry and starting to live in the moment. If you're still watching and this is resonating with you, just drop the number 2 in the comments below to let me know. And if you're not subscribed yet, I'd invite you to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you won't miss what's next. Your support helps us continue creating helpful and inspiring content. Barrier 3, being afraid to share with your partner, so you keep the pressure all inside. Of all the private struggles men face, perhaps the biggest barrier isn't the body or performance. It's the silence. So many men over 60 are shouldering an invisible pressure, not because they have no one beside them, but because they don't dare to share with their own partner. They keep every worry locked in their head, and that makes the worry heavier and the intimacy more distant. I remember Patrick, 69, a retired naval officer from Texas. He said, "I can talk to my wife about anything, finances, the kids, except this." He was afraid if he spoke up, she would be disappointed, or even think he no longer loved her. So he chose silence, kept it secret, and tried to handle it himself. But the more he hid, the wider the gap between them grew. Not because she didn't understand, but because he never gave her the chance. This is incredibly common. Many men feel that admitting they're struggling with intimacy is the same as admitting they are weak, worthless, or no longer the pillar of the family. They fear losing the image they've built for decades. But that fear quietly creates more pressure than any words ever could. A pressure with no escape, no outlet, and no one to help relieve it, unless you decide to speak up. The truth is, most women in long-term relationships don't demand perfection. They need connection, honesty, and a feeling of partnership. When a man shares that he's feeling pressured, needs time, or is trying to find his confidence, he isn't judged, but is often heard with more compassion than he imagines. Emotional intimacy is always the foundation for reigniting physical intimacy. So if you are carrying something you're afraid to say, try starting with a simple sentence. "Lately, there's something that's been on my mind." That isn't a sign of weakness, it's an act of courage. Because only when you dare to release the pressure in your head can you create the space for true healing to begin. Not just in your body, but in your relationship. And sometimes one honest conversation can be more powerful than any other therapy. The 3 barriers we've just walked through, the assumption that at this age you're supposed to be weak, the anxiety over performance, and the silence with your partner, are not uncommon. They are present in the lives of so many men over 60, creeping into every glance, every evasion, every long, quiet night. And the sad thing is, the longer they're held inside, the bigger they grow, consuming confidence, connection, and the simple joy of being close with the one you love. But you know what? Those barriers are not your destiny. They are not permanent. They are just psychological blocks that life, with its pressures, its stereotypes, and its old experiences, has unintentionally placed on your shoulders. And the wonderful thing is, you can take them one by one. No need to rush. No need to try to be someone else. You just need to start believing that age isn't an end, but a new chapter. One where you can live more fully, more honestly, and love more deeply. You just have to dare to try, dare to share, and dare to let go of expectations that no longer serve you. So today I invite you to look at yourself, not to self-criticize, but to realize there is still so much you can do. Start with one small action. Talk to your partner, make time for yourself, or simply take a deep breath and tell yourself, I deserve to be happy, even in my later years. If anything in this video has helped you feel a little lighter, please leave a comment or just type a single number to let me know you're still here, still listening, and still taking small steps toward the light. Thank you for your time. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. What you do today might not only help you, but also someone else who is quietly searching for their own answers. I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully, the next time we meet, you'll be walking lighter, standing taller, and no longer alone on this journey.